When you're out on the water, every morning is different. Every day, different. That's what keeps pulling us back, again and again. Promise of something new, something exciting. The promise of memories we'll keep forever. Fishing is a simple pleasure, really. One that makes us feel connected, makes us feel alive. And when your line tightens and your rod bends, it doesn't matter if you're a 6-year-old or a tournament pro. That buzz of excitement hits us all the same way. It's the moment we live for.
Give me some.
More than 50 years ago, we wanted to change the way people fish, moving off the shoreline to where we knew the fish were larger and much more fun to catch on light tackle. So we gave fishermen the ability to see individual fish under the boat. Ever since the Little Green Box, Lowrance has been driven to bring innovative products that provide real benefits to anglers.
Today, Lowrance continues to build on its heritage of innovation and enhance its reputation for success, helping regular folks catch more fish and tournament pros capture more championships. It's a fact. More pro anglers count on Lowrance sonar and chart plotter products than any other brand.
Folks at home.
By a long shot.
Yeah.
And as you might expect, there's a darn good reason for that.
You know, I remember the first time I ever caught a bass on an artificial lure. I was 12 years old in the Pocono Mountains. I walked to the end of the dock. I threw a topwater lure out, twitched it a couple times, and a 3-pound bass came up and exploded on this thing. My heart was pounding, I was breathing heavy. The minute I landed that fish, it was the most exciting thing that ever happened to me up to that.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FishTec Live Season 2, Episode 1. First of all, apologies for January. It was a crazy start to the year, so we never had I was hoping for Episode 1 in January. It just never happened, unfortunately. But guys, please join me tonight and join me in this brand new season of I remember the old ESA show used to be Knowing Your Electronics. The target for 2018 Season 2 is Knowing Your Charts. Last year, we really concentrated on all my charts and we went through the actual exercises on the units itself. We're still going to be doing a little bit of that this year. I'm going to try and do more of a PowerPoint presentation type of thing. I want to build that into Season 2. So it's not just me superimposed over my Lowrance Electronics charts in the background. So that's something I want to concentrate on. The other thing I want to do is I want to get some on the water footage. So hopefully we'll get some videos of my of the FishTec Pro Staff guys that are doing absolutely brilliantly. They had a phenomenal year in 2017. They started off with a bang in 2018. There's really good times ahead. I look forward to bringing you some really exciting on the water footage. Unfortunately, that will obviously not be live, but we're going to incorporate what we study with the charts. We're going to incorporate that with some of our really fantastic fishermen that we have on our FishTec Pro staff. So that's really something exciting to look forward to. Guys, let's get straight into it. Just a very quick comment. Let me just see if anybody's on there. Good evening, Alan Tonkin. How you doing? Good evening, Rowan Oberholzer. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining me. I think I've started a little bit earlier. Most guys have planned it for 7:30, but in 2018, I want to try and get it started at 7 o'clock. I hope that's convenient. If not, please inbox me, message me, let me know and say, John, that's ridiculous, or go for it, that suits us better. If I get enough guys to say we start at 7:30, we'll start at 7:30. Guys, let's hit it. One last thing I didn't mention. I've spoken to a lot of people last year with regard to my show, and one of the things that the guys spoke about was more of a customized FishTec Live intro. Guys, this is a very different type of show. I use a little bit of a Lawrence introduction. I think it's a beautiful video, and I use it time and time again. It's absolutely timeless. It's a beautiful piece of art. There's no way in my capacity I could put something together like that. That's what Lawrence International.com has actually done with that video. And then I have a basic little intro. With regard to making a nice, exciting intro video, guys, I see these, the FishTec Live shows more of an educational thing, like coming to my chart university or my chart classroom. And I don't know about you guys, but I never walked into a classroom or a hall or whatever, and there was music playing and introduced me. So please understand that side of the show. I'm trying to keep this an educational show. I know education is not for everybody. I do get that. A lot of people just want that secret, what we call the groen knoppie, that you just press and all these magic things happen as long as you buy the electronics and the charts. Sorry, we do not have that magic groen knoppie. It takes a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of work from your side. But once you embrace it and you get comfortable with it, you're going to see some phenomenal results. So guys, can we do the old without any further ado? How's that? How are we looking? Okay, I think we're on target here. Let's see. Guys, how are we doing? I don't know if you guys can see that. It looks all right from my side. Daniel Buerta, good evening. Daniel, how are you doing? Guys, if there's any issues with the sound or anything, please let me know. I could try and do something if there is a problem, but yeah, guys, let's hit it. Okay, chart knowledge. Learn to read charts like a pro. Now, this is quite a long process. Learning to read charts is, I would love to say it's easy. For a lot of people, it is easy. Once the penny drops, the proverbial penny drops, yes, it is easy. And then you just see it. But you need, for those of you that don't just automatically see it, this is what season 2 is going to be about. We are going to learn the basics. And what do I mean by the basics? Old school meets new school. Now, guys, I don't know how, I know a lot of you do a lot of searching on YouTube, and there's the Bass University, and there's all these, and Bass Knowledge, and some phenomenal writings and articles out there. But guys, when it comes to maps and mapping, this, okay, you're not going to see it because my green screen is going to kick it out because I've got a green screen behind me, but I'm holding this book that you can see here, this one here. Okay, this is Buck Perry's home guide books. Now remember, Buck Perry and his spoon pluggers of America have been around for a very, very long time. We're going back to the 60s. I think they were using that little Lawrence green box with a flasher. Phenomenal technology at the time. You know, Lawrence did invent this whole thing, this recreational sports angler sonar. So it's really, you know, it makes me feel proud being an ambassador for a brand such as Lawrence. They've done all these fantastic things. But Buck Perry wrote some incredible articles, and these home study guides of his were just, I mean, they're world known. Quite difficult to get hold of if you're in South Africa, but there are a couple of guys, you know, get hold of the guys online overseas, do a little bit of research. But we will be covering a lot of those books in this season. And then, of course, we're going to take what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bridge that old school with the new school. There was a lot of terminology if you read a lot of or watch a lot of those American YouTube videos where they talk about their graphs and they talk about their charts and whatnot, and they talk about bars and break lines and all that and breaks and that, this is what they're talking about. Here in South Africa, we predominantly talk about structure and cover. Buck Perry, the American way, they talk about structure all the time, but it's structure, breaks, break lines, bars, that type of thing. We are going to incorporate our cover, what we refer to as cover. We're going to start to see how that merges with things like breaks and the likes. So let's see where we go. And like I said, we're talking about structure, break lines, bars, breaks, and cover. In his books, Buck Perry often talks about this. Now, I don't know if he came up with this saying, but you'll find it in his books every now and again, in his home study guides. He says, you might find structure with no bass nearby, but you will never find bass with no structure nearby. Now, that applies 90 to 95% of the time. And 90 to 95% of the time, that's a relatively good hit rate. Let me just have a look here. Who's joined us? Bert Adlam. Good evening, Bert Adlam. Thanks for joining us. Good evening. And Brian DeLange. Welcome, Brian. Good evening. All looks good, John. Thank you for that feedback, Brian. I much appreciate it. Guys, yes. So this thing we're talking about where there's always a bass, there's structure nearby. Now, strangely enough, I'm breaking from my planned speech here a little bit, but I was talking to Martin de Kock the other day about this. He came and spent some time here with me at my home. And, I told him about how is it that in my old logbooks, I'm talking about my old logbooks, I've got several fish. And these are not small fish. I'm talking about that 10-pound range, 5 kilogram, 10-pound sort of fish, where we literally caught it while trolling in the middle of nowhere. And literally, there was nothing. Even when I went back later now with my fancy charts and I've put those waypoints in, there's nothing there. The only thing that I can think of in a case like that fish is so big and so old. He has traveled around that bay so many times in his life. He's said, I know the fish are over there. I'm not going to swim. I'm too old to swim around here in 2 feet of water all around the bay and then go to my hot spot there at Bailey's Hump. No, I'm going to cut straight across. And we just happen to be there at that time. So, but remember, that's a little bit of a one-hit wonder to say I'm going to go and target fish swimming from point A to point B in the middle of nowhere. Whew, that's a brave call to make unless you're trolling. But trolling. So yeah, let's see. Right, in Buck's book, he's got some wonderful diagrams. I don't know if he drew these diagrams himself or people in his group or in his club or whatever it was helped him with the diagrams here, but they're phenomenal. They're really great diagrams. But here's the problem. I've spoken to a lot of people that have read these articles and they just can't make the association from Buck's diagram to what they see on their CMAP charts, their FishTec charts, their whatever. They're just not making that contact. You know, that proverbial penny dropping, saying, okay, now I know what he's talking about. This is what we're doing in season 2. This is what we're going to focus on. We want you to understand what he means by those things and see the different variations thereof. So yeah, common structure, he's got this labeled as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I've added I, you'll see just now. There is an I. I don't know why that was left out, but anyway, you'll see right up on the top right of that diagram is double points or bars. We refer to points as points. Buck Perry's books refer to it as bars. Now get comfortable with using the term bar. Don't be shy to use the old terminology. Get used to using both. I don't want to move away from that technology. I want to be able to say to somebody, I'm talking about a point/bar. So there's never any misunderstanding for newcomers. Have you noticed in SA Bass magazine, I don't know if they still do it, but for many, many years, at the back of the book, there was always a basic page on how to rig a Texas rig, how to rig a Carolina rig, etc., etc., etc. Why? Because there's always somebody new. There's always somebody new. In bass fishing, or any fishing for that matter, there is always somebody new. So all us smart Alex have to say, hang on, let's recognize those newbies. So let's never forget about the old terminology with the new terminology and use it together as much as possible. Okay, so A is double points or bars, which is merging channels. You've got a main channel and you've got a channel that comes into it. There's a couple of variations of that, which is essentially what we're talking about tonight. But let's just run through the others quickly. B, you've got delta humps, old river sandbars. Guys, this is something that I'm not familiar with. We've got it on Ananda, yes. I know where they are. I've never targeted it, maybe to my detriment. So from a fishing perspective, I have absolutely zero knowledge of fishing these delta humps, these big sandbars. I can't even say for sure if they hold fish, and I don't want to say yes or no. C, you've got short points or bars, which means it's quite a steep short distance out to the main channel. These are normally quite cliffy type looking, but it is a point. It's not just like a cliff face. There is a little bit of a point to it. See, then we got D, jagged points or bars. D, very common, guys. This is something very, very common. And you've got to, you've actually got to, with jagged points or bars, you've got to actually handle each bar or point as a separate bar, separate point. So yeah, just keep this in mind and be very aware of it when you're fishing it. Don't just see it as one big point and you've seen the videos on how to target a point. You've got to break that jagged point up into several points or bars and target each one individually. That's important. Target each one individually. Okay, that's D. E, long points or bars. We all know these. We have caught good fish off them, especially if these long points or bars meet up with the main channel. These areas produce fish and they produce good fish. Rob Fisher, Mr. Lincoln, Annie's PB, long bar close to the main channel. Myself, lost count of 10 pounders, long bars close to a channel. Where? Andre's Point, for example. Other examples of it on Inanda is Mamba Point, huge, massive, you know, a lot of good fish come out there. So yeah, that's a very common one. The guys know those very, very well. Let's go on to F, islands and humps. For us poor oaks here in KZN and down in Cape Town, islands and humps are high and dry. So we won't get to fish those for a while. Having said that, I don't know if any of you saw what happened to Midmar this last week. That has come up nicely. So that is very exciting. So maybe once Midmar falls, they'll let some water into Albert Falls. Very exciting stuff. They had some good rain up in our catchment area. So very, very exciting. G, steep shore drop-offs. Guys, just think of Ken's Cliffs. At any place you go to where there's just this big vertical wall, you've got them at Loskop, you've got them at Makolo, you've got them everywhere. It's just these massive, big, steep drop-offs. Okay, these are all key structure elements, if we can call it that. H is man-made cover or breaks. In this case, they've got it as a bridge, as a diagram here. But guys, man-made cover / breaks is anything. It's bridges, it's old vehicles, old stolen vehicles that have been rolled into the water. Very common here in South Africa. Old buildings, there's all sorts of things, that long drops, all sorts of things, shops and what have you, where there's still a lot of that old structure left there. You see, I made a mistake. Structure is not structure. That's cover or breaks. Okay. And then I've obviously added I to this. It's the main river channel. I think that's a key piece of structure and knowing exactly where it is. Right. So what we're going to do tonight is we are going to deal with A. We're only going to deal with A, which is double points or bars. Who has joined us there? Let me just have a quick look. My good friend Jacques Skuman. Good evening, Jacques. How are you doing? Congratulations to you and Corneille. You had a great start to the season on Rode copies last weekend. Fantastic. Well done, you guys. Really. Yeah, fantastic results. Guys, Jacques and his wife Corneille, they fished, I think it was the eBass last weekend on Rode copies. They'd never been on the dam before in their lives. They got a little bit of inside information from some of their network, from their friends and whatnot. They bought a Rode copies chart, and they went on the water and they placed in the top 10. What a fantastic result, you guys. Fantastic. So yeah, back on track. Double merging points. Okay, this can be created by several types of structure changes. And guys, this is structure. This is not cover. This is something where the bottom has changed. We're going to call that structure. Buck Perry called it structure. We call it structure. Okay. One is a single creek channel feeding into the main channel, as what you see here on this diagram here. Or number two, you can have a dual creek channel coming into and feeding down into the main channel. I've got a note here. It says these channels can come in many shapes and forms, from large deep river feeders all the way down to a simple little well-used foot vehicle path from before the dam was built. So yes, channels can be big, massive gorges, if you want to call it, all the way down to a little footpath. Because remember, a bass is only yay high. He doesn't need much to hide behind something. And if that bass, if his eye, if he feels comfortable hiding behind something and it's only that high, he's going to hide behind it, especially if it's the only thing in the area. And guys, there's going to be something that's going to come up time and time again with these talks. It's the spot on the spot. And I'm going to be talking exactly about that just now. You're looking at this now and you're thinking, yes, I know where that is. I've got the spot. But guys, that's not good enough. We've got to work out. We've got to learn how to find and locate the spot on the spot. We have here identified a merging point, a dual bar system. Yes, we have. But it's not just that. It is so much more. So what do you do now? You get your contour charts. The guys, you Lawrence guys, you can go onto your CMAP Genesis account. Guys, if you don't have a CMAP Genesis account, please go and Google CMAP Genesis. It'll take you to a link. It'll ask you to register if you're not already registered and sign up for it. And you've got it for the rest of your life. It's free. Yes, there are paid versions, but the majority, the essentials are free, and do it. This, what I'm showing you now, this is free. You can see this free of charge. You don't need an active subscription to actually see this. So what I've done is I've taken Inanda Dam, I've broken it into a section. This is the river section. This is basically from Mamba Point down on the bottom right there, going right up past Taxi, going past Donkey, Taxi. I don't know, can you see, where am I pointing now? Anyway, no, my hand's going to get lost. Donkey, go to the Horns, Dutchess Dip, and old Grant Hewitt's little creek. Okay, so you can identify these things without spending any money, without buying any charts. Go in, take a chart, take your local chart. It might not be nice and complete like this one is, but take a section that is complete. Go and have a look at it and look for these merging points or bars where little creeks are coming into a main channel. You can easily see where the main channel is here, and you've got these multiple little creeks coming in. But let's see what we can do next. we're still in the realm of free, where things are free, where you don't have to pay for them. This is Google Earth. As long as you've got an active account, you don't have to pay for this. This is free. What I've done is I've just taken those exact same points and I've overlaid them into Google Earth, and I've taken the top two and I've zoomed in closer. And remember, with Google Earth, you've got a little slide button. It's your time machine. You can drag it back to a time where the dam is very, very low. For the KZN guys, it's generally very easy. We're in it right now. For the Cape Town guys, Theewate's, very easy. It's low now. There we go. So you don't have to do no time machine. But when the rains do come back and they update the satellite imagery, you'll see the dam is full. And you say, oh, now I can't see the creeks. Hit the little time button up on the top. There's a little icon up the top there. You press that and you've got a slide bar that you can take back in time to when the dam was nice and low. Okay. As you can clearly see, there's some really interesting here. This is exactly what Buck Perry was talking about. These are classic examples. It doesn't get any easier or better. And there we go. There you can see it. Buck's dual bar. You can see it crystal clear. This is what we're talking about. Okay, at this point, the freebies come to an end. The Google Earth, the CMAP Genesis, remember the CMAP Genesis you can download and put on your fish finder, the satellite imagery, our friend Alan Baker, he's on YouTube. He calls himself the Hummingbird Guru. You can go onto his YouTube channel and he tells us in great, beautiful detail on how to take satellite imagery and put it onto a Lawrence unit. We thank you for that. Guys, I want to tell you something very important. To do that type of stuff and to put the imagery onto a Lawrence unit, you don't have to go and buy special software for 4,799 Rand and then buy a blank card where you can put one image on it for 1,799 Rand each. No. You go to the IMC, the Insight store, it's free of charge. The Insight Map Creator is free. You download it, you put on your computer free of charge. The card, you go to your local China mall and you tell them, I want an 8 gig card for 75 Rand, please, sir. And he will give you one for 75 Rand. And you can buy a box of them if you want. Just don't buy more than 32 gigs. Keep it under that. If you can still get 8s, rather use the 8 gig cards, maximum 16 gig. And the 16 gig should cost you nothing more than 149 Rand 99, not 1,799 Rand each, and only put one image on it. No, Lawrence, we do things different here. So what happens here is, at this point, you'll want to switch over to your HD fishing charts. What I've done with, for example, with my Northern Province charts, your Gauteng, Limpopo, Northwest provinces, I've taken all that information and I've put it onto a single card for you, just to save you the hassle. So here's a KZN version of it. These are what I call the hybrid charts. Let me see who's joined us. Hey, Hannes Lindeque, my friend from Cape Town. Guys, we did SA Marines together. And did our time up on the border, up at Katima Malilo and Impalila Island. So, Hannes, good to see you. Happy birthday for the other day, my friend. Lekker. Good to see you. Okay, guys, back on the sediment charts. Now, the sediment charts are old contour charts that we acquired from DWAF. In the old days, the Department of Water Affairs had these massive big paper charts that you could go to and you could get them from the guys there. But recently, a little while ago, we were fortunate enough to get a digital copy. What I've done is I've taken these digital copies and I've geo-referenced them. I've digitized and calibrated them, and they're relatively accurate. There's always like little adjustments I see I could always improve. With some of them, I've added a little bit of color so you can see the channels, you can see the rock, you can see the man-made structure. Not all of them, but some of them I have done that. It's a work in progress. It will continue to get better and better. But here, in this case now, if you take the sediment charts, I've even taken a little bit of satellite imagery and I've superimposed it over the sediment chart. The biggest problem with the sediment chart is you don't know where the shoreline is. But when it's geo-referenced and you place a shoreline, this is 100% shoreline, as if Inanda was 100% full, and you place it over the sediment chart, you can see exactly where the water is. So again, in this case here, typical case of the dual bar. When we zoom in, can you see where that is, guys? It's sort of on that left hand side. It's a part of Inanda we call Dutch's Dip. I'm going to zoom in now. Just look to the sort of center left. Dutch's Dip goes off to the left of your screen. There it is there. Can you see the two bars? There's the north side bar, which is a nice sharp bar, which is my preference. I like fishing that. I don't like these big rounded bars. Some guys do. I see KVD in many of his videos. He fishes those big round bars with a crankbait like a machine, and just, yeah, and he just does crazy things. But that's KVD. Me, I like something that I'm more comfortable with, which is the northern side bar. If we compare that again to Buck Perry's diagrams, can you see what I'm talking about? You've got your bar on your north and you've got your bar on the south of the creek going off to the left. I've gone back to the satellite imagery. Remember, guys, this is something you can do with your Lowrance unit, your TI unit, and any of your HDSs, except for the Generation 1. The Generation 1, you can't do any. You can do a shaded relief. You could probably, you know what, you could probably do this. You could do the satellite imagery with the Generation 1. You could, but you only have that one image you can load on. Whereas the TI and anything from Generation 2 button to carbon today, you can put 10, 15, 20 images on a single card. You don't have to go and buy one card at 2,000 Rand each. That's a blank card, by the way. Blank. It's a blank card. You still got to put the information on there. Okay. You can take one card and put a lot of these charts on there, or just buy my my Northern Provinces sediment chart. For the KZN guys, there's more information available. Just give us a shout and we'll give you some detail there. Okay, so this is what happens with the satellite imagery. We go back to Buck Perry's diagram here. You can see the bars that come out on either side of this creek, and I've put that same sort of text in there so you can see where's the north side bar and the south side bar. But guys, it starts to get a little bit blurry. It really starts to get a little bit blurry. Look what happens when we use the FishTec HD charts. This was done using a flying camera, a very, very high definition flying camera. The majority of Inanda in this case is done. The KZN guys obviously have got the best coverage to date. The Northern Province guys, Ruderkoppes, for example, does have drone imagery, but it's just in select areas because the dam wasn't too low, and the other areas that were exposed just didn't have that much information. But we'll see how that goes in future. If that dam ever drops low again, we'll be back there with the drone and we will update those charts. But guys, just for a second, that's what you get with satellite imagery, and that is what you get with the drone. So let me just see what's happening on Facebook quickly. Frickie, good evening, Frickie. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us. Jacques Kiss, good evening, Jacques. And Jacques says, good evening to all the fellow anglers. Jacques, thank you very much for joining us. Frickie, thank you for joining us. Fantastic. Frickie's going to be cross with me because I started early and he probably missed it. Anyway, guys, as you can see, fantastic definition with the aerial HD imagery. Now, Inanda now is still very, very low. So you can imagine this is not going to come into play now. However, the guys at Ruderkoppes can use some of this. Well, no, I don't think yet. No, scratch that. the guys down at Wriggleswade. We did a lot of drone imagery down at Wriggleswade. We've got some fantastic drone. In fact, it's only drone imagery down at Clanwilliam. I mapped Clanwilliam with that drone when it was 8 to 9%. 8 to 9%. So there's some fantastic detail. Unfortunately, back then the technology was extremely new. The mapping software was very new, and we didn't get quite the smooth coverage that we would have liked to get. But that's what life is all about, and technology moves so fast. So yeah, from when we did our first Clanwilliam chart to what we are now, it's a big change. Okay, next thing, let's concentrate on the south bar, or the south point. Remember I said this is more of a flat bar. Let's see what that looks like if we zoom in on that with the satellite imagery. Can you see what happens? Terrible. Once you get to a certain level of zoom with satellite imagery, you just lose the detail, unfortunately, and that there is not really usable as far as I'm concerned. Look, better than nothing. I've got a lot of charts out there that don't have the fantastic drone imagery or the ultra HF mosaic. It doesn't have it. So this is better than nothing. But guys, we are going to get to all our dams. Let me tell you, as FishTec, as the owner or part owner with my wife Colleen, I can tell you now, the inland waters of South Africa, hopefully before they put me into the ground, will be done, and they'll be done properly. And I will leave some brilliant charts behind in my legacy, or whatever you want to call it. If we zoom into that exact same location with the drone imagery or the flying, I don't like to use that word drone because you think of oaks bombing oaks on camels in the Middle East and horrible stuff. So let's not use a drone. It's a flying camera. Okay. And yeah, look now, how does that, imagine if that was on your chart plotter, on your fish finder. You pitch up to the spot, the water now is 100%, so this is all covered with water, and you put on your FishTec charts or your homemade chart, and you put this on, you're like, so. But if you've got a FishTec HD chart, you've now got that. You still got to be careful, because how much of this did the guys, where it really went low, especially now at Albert Falls, those bank anglers, those carp fishermen that were sitting there and camping, especially in winter, they were collecting up all that wonderful timber that was a cover for the bass, and they were making lacquer fires at night. So got to watch out for that. So just be aware. Will I get back there and rescan them and see what's changed? Sure. But again, this is something nice for your 360. Guys, everyone's all about there's Lawrence here and Hummingbird here and never the two betwixt or whatever. No, man. Come. Nonsense. We know what Lawrence does well. Lawrence does maps. The mapping and the sonar on Lawrence is second to none. It is fantastic. But guys, that 360 jobby they call the toilet plunger or whatever by Hummingbird, if you can afford it, go out and buy it. Put it next to your Lawrence. You won't regret it. There will come a time where that thing will put a fish on your boat when you really need it. You've got 5 fish in the well. One is dodgy, might need a little bit of pressure to make 300 mils or whatever, and you'll lean over there next to the weighmaster to make that 300 mils. You don't want to be in that type of situation. If a device like the 360 can put that one fish in one tournament when it counts in your boat, that technology is worth it. So embrace it. Unfortunately, the Lawrence version is useless. We can't use it. But go out, get yourself a Hummingbird 360, pop it next to your Elite 9 or 12 Ti, whatever. You won't regret it. Great piece of tech. Now, in that case, if you come into this area here with something like that, you've got the charts that say this cover is all here. You come in with your 360 live scanning and you confirm it. Yes, That laydown that you see there is still there. That timber that you see there is still there. And that is the exact location and the angle you know where to cast. Make use of the technology. Don't be shy. When the dam is full, you can idle around the area just to confirm what is there. What I'm going to do here for this is I found a how am I going to do this? Let me merge this in here. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I'm going to put myself here. Ooh, no, that's not going to work. Guys, okay, you're not going to see me here. Let me just pause this quickly. With this video that you see here now, this is an old video that sonar recording that I took, in fact, quite a few, many years ago. You'll see the GPS is a bit dodgy and the refresh rate on it is a bit dodgy and a little bit off. You know, the GPSs back then weren't nearly as accurate as what they are now. So, but what was interesting was I recorded this when the dam was 100% full. And what I've done is I've used that old recording as my sonar, and I've just placed it on top of my chart to see how does my chart, my FishTec HD chart, match up to that old recording back in the day. Guys, let's sit back and let's watch this video for a little while. It's a couple of minutes long. You see that stump? You see how it's split in two on the side scan? That means we drove exactly over the top of it. So obviously way back then when I did that video, that old laydown was still there. There's your brake line. There's the end of your bar. You see where I've highlighted that bar there? You can see that's where that ledge is. KVD, Kevin Van Dam, talks about that type of scenario quite often and how he targets that. So pay close attention to that. When you watch those videos, pay attention to where they place their boat. Boat control is huge. Look at this. Look how amazing this is. You see that old tree there? Look how it comes up. This here, all my charts include geo-referenced images. Look at these geo-referenced. Now imagine going to the dam when it's full and being able to access those photographs and seeing exactly what was down there. Look how clear that is there. You see, that was when the dam wasn't too low, then very low. There's that end of the bar there. You can see that's a gradual step. While that's playing, who we got here? Sure, a lot of guys have joined. Hey, I'm going to get into trouble. I started this thing too early. Burger Lutz, good evening, Burger. He says, awesome footage, thank you. Bertus Janssen van Rensburg, good evening, Bertus, how you doing? Shane Redmond, good evening, Shane. Burger Lutz, camel bombing. Okay, I don't know what that means. Yeah, it's really interesting doing this. So if you guys have got any old logs that you recorded back in the day and now you've bought my new charts, by all means take that old recording, go into your simulator, and under files in simulator use your old sonar log as the simulator file, and then it'll place your position over the chart, and you can switch this chart to elevation 3D, aerial HD, contours, satellite, you name it, sediment, you know. Look at that. You see there on our left hand side as we pass that gnarly sort of standing timber there. Did you see that little rock there with a fish on top of that rock? You got to look. Oh, that's amazing. This uck is, there's another fish sitting out deeper. I think he just couldn't handle me driving up and down over his hotspot there, making a noise with a motor. He said, no, these ucks don't know what they're doing. They're making a noise. I'm going to go and sit out there in the main channel until he finishes making nonsense there on my couch. Guys, these little things, did you see on those drop-offs? They look like nothing, right? It just looks like nothing. I don't know if you saw that just now. It's just smooth sand, there's nothing. And all of a sudden, there's what we call cover, okay? Buck Perry refers to it as a break. Where that smooth edge going down into the channel is broken by something, whether it's a stump, whether it's some rocks, or whatever it might be, pay very close attention to that type of detail. Right, we've had enough of that. Right, so we said we idled over it. It was great fun, and we saw XYZ. Yeah, I just put this in here as a imagine Mr. Buck Perry seeing a FishTec HD chart today. I'd love to know what he says. Either he's turning in his grave or he's saying that technology is killing it, but I think he would appreciate it. Well, I'd like to believe that he would appreciate it. Right, the creek origin. I know we're talking about dual bars here, and I know it's important, you know, that's our primary discussion tonight, on these points or bars with the main channel. But remember, don't forget about what else is there. You're already there. Utilize what is there. Let's say the dam was 100% full and you wanted to move into the back of this creek. I don't know if it's the right terminology, using creek, channel, whatever. I don't want to sound too Americanized, but creek sounds good to me. If we go on our sediment chart, as you can see, the detail is lost. It's still there, and if you actually look at it, what I'm going to show you next, this guy that did Inanda was a true artist. This guy was very, very good at what he was doing. And this is actually very accurate, believe it or not. But it's hard to make out what it is. But when you look at it with the aerial HD imagery, which was done with the flying camera, then it all starts to make sense. Now, here's something you got to watch out for. What happens with high definition aerial imagery? If you look at this here, you can see the channel comes in. We're going from the top of the screen on the right hand side. We're coming diagonally down to me, and you can clearly see there's like a little rock, little ledge there. So that's known as a break or cover. Okay, so if you're going to go and fish the back here, it's very important to know that that little rock is there. You can see there's a little bit of a shadow on it, so you know there's a ledge. But what if there was a ledge, another ledge just above it? You won't know with this aerial HD because you're looking directly from the top. It's still two-dimensional. But what this high definition imagery allowed us to do, it allowed us to create a thing called elevation 3D. It's a form of light distance ranging. We take that high quality image that you saw just now, that aerial HD view, and there's this incredible software that converts it into a 3D shaded relief type of thing. Now, these are, believe it or not, these are actually contours, micro contours with a colored shaded relief. Now you're probably going, geez, what's this on about? But can you see what happened? You can clearly see that main ledge that we identified with the break, that rock, those little rocks coming into the, like creating a ledge. That was easy peasy. Anybody can see that. But look at the little ledge above it, that little inlet. Guess what? You want to know that. When you come into the back of this creek here, you want to know where that little inlet is there and target it. The water's going to be full right up to the shore. Know where that little break line is. Remember, for a break line to be important, a break line is a ledge, by the way. For a break line to be important, it doesn't have to be in 30 feet of water, 20 feet of water. It can be in 1.5 feet of water. Up in the river here, this water is usually very, very dirty. You won't see detail here. Sometimes it gets clean. I've actually got a photograph here just now that makes it look very clean, and I've never seen the river that clean in my life. But generally, it's very dirty, and you won't know about this. But between these two little channels that go into the back, can you see the bar that has been created in the middle? That has got potential to hold fish. When you go in there, Don't just go and play one-armed bandit at the casino with a pocket full of pennies and you just ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Go in there, be a hunter and hunt these, make accurate casts to these type of things. You can't always fish like that because it's hard work. But when it's tournament day, everyone says, oh, but I had fun. I don't know. Fun to me is winning. I don't know what you're there for. Once the outer bars have been targeted, there are still the break lines, ledges leading to the back of the creek with cover and breaks. Now, let me just change this here. There we go. Okay. I went to the back of the creek, but before you get to the back of the creek, on your way in, you've targeted those points, you've lifted whatever you could off there very, very accurately, very, very efficiently, and now you're making your way in. I should have done the back of the creek later, but anyway, I've jumped the gun a little bit. On your way in, don't just randomly just start going to either side and casting all over the place, whatnot. Know what you're casting to. If you don't have a proper chart, if you're on some Navionics SA chart or whatever, and you come into the Dutch's dip, that's exactly what it's going to look like on your screen. Your boat's going to come in and it's just going to be blue if you zoom in close enough. Obviously that's no good. Okay, then you just one-arm banditing, what I call just bang bashing, dush, 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 and then hopefully one of those pennies gets lucky. No, there's a time for that, but tournament fishing is not. If we take that exact same location and we put an aerial HD with a FishTec HD chart behind that, now you know exactly what is there. No FishTec with FishTec. Okay, now you know. What side of this channel or creek are you going to target? Oh my goodness, 1949. I've only got 10 minutes left. Sure, I must move. Okay, guys, you're coming to the creek. This is a no-brainer. On the south side of this creek, okay, now pretend the dam's 100% full. Remember, that's all going to be water. You can't see anything. But now you've got FishTec HD charts. The dam is 100% full, but you've got these charts. You can see that rock line, those breaks, and then there's one very special one there. You've got a rocky section with timber next to it. Okay, now that is key. So what you do is you go onto your FishTec HD chart and you look for these little numbers. You'll see these little numbers all over the screen here. I don't know if you can see, like that there, okay? Those are photographs. For Inanda, for example, I think there's nearly 3,000, 3,500 or something ridiculous photographs. These are geo-referenced photographs. So what you do in a case like that, you go and you tap on that little number there. You've obviously got your trolling motor in the water. This is the section that we're targeting. We're targeting the south shore. Just again, remember guys, I'm trying to make you familiar with Buck Perry's writings with regard to the HD charts. Yeah. So you tap on that little photograph there because you've identified something key that you'd like to fish. You tap on it, and what will happen is it'll bring up this screen. Can you see? Where you can't see now. No, don't know if you see it says go to. Okay, there we go. That go to there, if you've got a Motor Guide XI5 and you tap that go to, your XI5 will say thank you, I got that location, and it will start moving to that exact spot. What is that spot? That is the exact location of where the photograph was taken from. Okay, it'll go there and it'll stop and hold you there. Wind's blowing, everyone else is being blown all over the place and doing the old one-arm bandit bang bashing scenario. You are hunting, accurate hunting, regardless of the conditions. Look, unfortunately, when conditions get a little bit wild, your 360 is out of game. But remember, charts you can use in any conditions, because those maps were created in absolute optimum conditions. So come game day, you've got the best information. So what you do is you've now arrived at your location with your trolling motor, the wind has settled you nicely, and then you tap on that number again onto the pop-up little window. And well, before you do that, if you're at that location where your trolling motor has actually taken you and you look up, that's when the dam is 100% full. In this location, I know I've just colored in blue, you've got to use a bit of imagination here now, but that's roughly what you're going to see. You're just going to see water, you're going to see a little bit of timber sticking out there on the right hand side of the screen, and that's going to be water in the background. So what you do is you tap on that little pop-up balloon there and you select image. Okay, now that image is a photograph. Some of them are taken from water level, or some of them are taken from drone image. But when it's used with the drone or the flying camera, what I've tried to do, I've tried to say, right, the dam is down, let's say 15 feet. The average fisherman is 6 foot plus another 2 foot for his boat. I've added that together. I've taken the drone up to that height, and I've tried to take a photograph from that position. I call that ELI, eye level imagery. That is to try and give you, when the dam's 100% and you're just looking at dirty water, you can't see anything else, I want to give you the best possible perspective and accuracy to what's below. So that in pink that you see there is sort of the field of view that the camera would have covered, and this is what you'll see. Now, how do you think you're going to fish? The oak that came in here and fished this before you saw that. No Lawrence, no FishTec HD chart. This is what he saw. You, with your Lawrence and your FishTec HD charts, this is what you see. Guys, you've just got to imagine that, what that's going to be like when the dam is full, fishing that. Can you imagine the accuracy right from there? You're locked, you're on the spot. If you don't have an XI5, you've got an Ultrex, that's fine. Before you make your cast, get to your spot lock position and use the jog feature on your Ultrex to get as close to that little icon that you see on your Lawrence. Try and get as close to it as possible, and then hit your image, and you'll be able to, a little bit quicker with the XI5, but the XI5 has got its own problems. I wish they would wake up a little bit there, but yeah, that's a bit of a sore point at the moment. It's quite a frustrating thing at the moment with the XI5, but yeah, guys, imagine fishing this. The guy that came in here before you, he had no idea this is here. No idea. Yes, everybody's got side scan. Let's say side scan is unfortunately history. It happened behind you, it's gone. Now you're fishing off a waypoint, and unless you've got a photographic memory, it's very, very difficult to remember the perspective and exactly how everything was. Very difficult. Let's have a look at good conditions, calm conditions, using a 360 combined with this. I'd love to use a 360 here. In the right conditions, the right range, I'd love to see with that 360 if I can see. I'm yet to see. I would love, my dream is to see fish moving around this type of cover, or these type of breaks. Is the 360 that technology? I haven't seen it yet. I must be honest. I know I've heard stories, and sure, you can give out 2 brandies, and then he does it all the time. Every time he turns that 360 on, he'll tell you 2.8 kilo fish left side of that rock. Another 2 brandies, now it's a 10-pounder. So, but I want to see it with my own eyes. If I don't see it with my own eyes, I don't believe it. But that would be nice. So the combination of the charts and that would be great. Let me just see anybody else here. Oh, Rowan. Oh, Rowan says, awesome, the penny must be dropping for some. Yeah, Rowan. I hope so, but it is. If you look at some of the results from last year, what the guys did, fantastic. In fact, not just the last year, the last 2 years. Geez, the guys that have been using the charts have done incredible things. Okay, finally, how do you set your unit up for this? Okay, everybody's got a different way of doing things, okay? For me, on the water, or for anybody, I believe you got to have 2 units on the front. You have to use 2 units. And the reason why you need the 2 units is the 1 unit you can split chart, or you can split chart plus sonar, so you can see the depth that you're in at the time. The nice thing with chart plus chart is you can take any one of those 10 charts, or the different choices that you've got: sediment, contour, hardness, aerial HD, elevation, satellite, whatever. You can take any combination 2 and put it on the 1 unit with a little sliver with your depth to see if there's any fish that have come underneath the boat you could possibly drop something onto. The unit on the right, especially if you're going into an area where there's imagery, these photographs, when you select the photograph, you can't have photograph and then something else in the screen. That would be nice, but it doesn't work like that. When you select image, it brings up the whole screen, and you want to leave it on there. You want the confidence of that image next to you there. In my case, if this was my boat and I was fishing tournaments, I'd have 3. I'd have an Elite 9 Ti, I'd have another Elite 9 Ti, and I'd have a Solix 12 just for 360 next to it. That's what I would have on the front of this boat. If I really hit the lotto, no, then we're going carbon 16, 12, and a 15 Solix next to it. Geez, I don't know what size motor I'd need to hold that bow up, but yeah, more than enough for this is a 9, and even a Helix 10 or something next to it. So Elite 9 Ti or a carbon, either a carbon or Elite 9 Ti, they both do exactly the same job, except that the carbon networks. If you go with the Elite Ti, unfortunately you'd have to buy 2 charts so that you can do the charts on both units, whereas with the carbon you can just network it from one to the other, and then you can have your 360 type sonar next to that. So yeah, that is my episode 1, guys. Let me just have a look. Hicho van der Walt, Lekker John Ash, Small Craft Oaks will just watch and dream on. Hicho, you'll be surprised. Go and have a look what electronics these guys put onto kayaks. Go and have a look at just search Hobie kayak fishing. You'll be shocked what those guys put on those kayaks. So when it comes to small craft, let me tell you, if your craft can float the electronics, you're good to go. And take a big enough battery. I think your battery is going to be your biggest problem. But yeah, thank you for that kind comment there. Henry De Bruin, good evening, Henry. He says, thank you for the great show. Only a pleasure. Thank you, Henry. To all of you guys that did join me tonight, thank you very, very much. Please don't hesitate to WhatsApp me, to send messages on Facebook saying what you'd like to see. Obviously, next week, let's just go back and see what we're dealing with next week. Okay, B's Delta humps. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, so I'll just touch a little bit on that, and then we're going to talk. I think we're going to do C, D, and E. We're going to do short points or bars. We'll do jagged points and bars, and we'll do long points and bars. We'll do that as one show, and we'll do that in March. Second week of March, Tuesday, 7 o'clock. If you guys don't like this time slot of 7 o'clock, please let me know, and we'll change it back to 7:30. And the chojos are coming in here now. Okay, good evening, guys, and thank you for attending FishTec Live Season 2, Episode 1. Have a great evening, guys. Cheers.